So then the second question would be, what is systems thinking? And then again, we would want to drop that into the context of the market environment.
Yeah. So Barry Richmond is a legendary foundational thinker in the world of systems thinking. He developed some software that really made it accessible to the wide world of many different disciplines, how to model systems, including decision-making systems, production systems, environments, human systems. And he describes systems thinking really as a set of cognitive processes, qualities, attributes, and skills that allowed us to do this. The art and science of making reliable inferences about behavior by developing an increasingly deep understanding of underlying structure. So systems thinking is really taking a look at complexity, dynamic complexity, and rendering it into a process model, a systems map that allows us to study how the pieces and parts fit together, how they interact, what are the dimensions or the extremes of behavior. And then by studying that structure in motion over time, you begin to understand how that operates 24/7 in an ecosystem. And that understanding that structure, how the anatomy fits together, allows us to anticipate the behaviors of that system. And he would note that systems thinking is a particular way of seeing the world, and it's usually associated with dynamics and structures. So structures give you order, strength, and consistency, like a building. But at the same time, we're operating in a dynamic world and it is subject to stresses and forces. So it's not just structures, it's not just processes, it is the intersection, the union of both structures and processes. And systems thinking is an organized way to look at that dynamically. And so the data that systems thinkers use is different, and the way we think about it is different than folks who look at the world as a snapshot, a static picture that you get it right one time and you understand it forever. No, systems thinking is really taking a look at the dynamics, the objects in motion over time. So that's what we mean by systems thinking. For a trader, what that means is recognizing that the trade goes through life cycles, that there's a pre-trade, there's a during the trade, there's after the trade. There's planning, preparing, executing, assessing, that thing is dynamic. And some of the tasks that we're doing are different in each one of those phases, but you have to understand them all together as an organic, unified whole to really appreciate the entirety of the trade and of the trading system. So that's what we mean by trading systems thinking, I should say.
And I really love the part of the definition here that says it's the art and the science. You know, the connection that I make to trading in that is the different types of trading systems that we have. So we have the discretionary systems, or discretionary rules-based systems, which tend to lean more towards the art side of things. And then we have the mechanical systems, which tend to lean more towards the science or the structured part of things. But I love the fact that systems thinking is about structure and process, and we can apply it to all different types of trading systems, regardless of it, whether it's discretionary rules-based, or mechanical.
Yeah, I mean, there are traders who emphasize only the art or only the science, but the dynamic market combines both of those. And so if you're only using one lens, you're only getting an approximation, and there's always something more that your method doesn't look at. So you have to have both art and science. And then what Mintzberg would call the craft of trading, the craft of systems thinking, is learning how to usefully blend art and when should I use art? When should I use science? How do I mix those in a way that's better than using just one or the other? You know, that is that's the unifying element of professional craftsmanship that that is itself one of the elements of systems thinking.
And that's one of the things I've always admired about you is the craftsmanship, the level of mastery you bring to knowing when to apply the science, knowing when to apply the art. And of course, as we both know from being around Dr. Van Tharp, in his studies, he found that discretionary rules-based traders were the ones who ended up ultimately making the most money. And I've always appreciated your ability to walk in both of those worlds, the mechanical world, the science world, and the art slash craft world. In my opinion, you've got such an excellent mastery of where to place the dial on that spectrum.
Yeah. Well, what I've come to apply, I guess, is a model which says about the first 80% of your trading journey should be towards the science
Hmm.
of rules-based trading. And the reason I say that is because that places a heavy emphasis on discipline and math. And that is automatically putting you on the other side of the trade from the herd.
Hmm.
Because people dislike discipline and they dislike math, and they are going to react emotionally to surprises in the market. So the first and the most persistent edge that you can have is to be strong on things that the herd is weak on. So I think the first 80% of your effort should be on developing the science of trading, which means rules-based, math-oriented, discipline-focused, consistency through time. But the last 20%, I believe you need art to carry you further because there are some nonlinear moments, what we call compound critical states, in which the normal rules of behavior, which are good most of the time, they don't work all the time. And in those special moments, if you can add artful judgment to your practice, then the mechanical system will put you in a position where you can really exploit the skill of your artful judgment. And then that's where you get the extra icing on the cake, if I can say it that way. Now, while you're developing artful judgment, you can trade that at small levels of risk while you develop skill. So the mechanical system will carry you and will give you a long-term advantage. But then to get even more out of the market, you want to develop that artful judgment and then blend that with the mechanical piece. So that's the general approach that I teach now is start with the math, start with the discipline, and make that your long-term edge compared to the psychologically unstable or emotional herd that reacts without thinking, and you'll be well. That will take care of you in the long run, in my view.
And the irony is not lost on me that you are, in fact, applying systems thinking to how to develop both the art and the
Yeah,
science of systems thinking in the market. It's really
yeah.
just perfect.
It's the curse. It's actually the curse of systems thinking. You know, I got a master's of science degree in systems thinking, systems management from USC. Let's see, 31 years ago. And that was the very first briefing we got from the program director. He says, once you start seeing the world through a systems thinker's eyes, you're just going to be miserable for life because there's always one more question to ask. There's one more component and one more level down and one more level up and one more variable to consider in the mix. And it just sort of never ends. And boy, has that ever been true. But I will also tell you that systems thinking as a way of life, as a way of thinking, has been extraordinarily helpful to me as a Army officer, as a leader, as an organizational change specialist, as a professor, as a coach, as a trader, in every dimension of my life. Systems thinking has given me a persistent edge, and it was hard work, but it really has paid off and continues to pay off. It's a big part of the new book that we wrote too. We have that threaded throughout the entire document there.